And here we are live right on Amazon with Nancey West. And we've got her book highlighted in the carousel, Blessings of the Christmas Tree Farm. We're going to have a good conversation. We just talked about the book and the journey. And as we are here nearing the middle of November, my wife and I were walking through the neighborhood, and somebody actually has their whole tree up in their house, the decorated lights and everything. And I know it's got to be a synthetic tree, something Nancy we can't support here in the Northwest. But we are here live on Amazon. And Nancy, thanks for joining me here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So as we get started, we'll just kind of talk a little bit about your background, about your journey, about this book. And it is the perfect gift. So everyone can just click on it, highlight. They can take a little peek inside. I'll talk about the illustrations. I love the illustrations in this one. And we'll just have fun. But with that, why don't you introduce folks to who Nancey West is?
Well, I am a lifetime Oregonian. I grew up in Eastern Oregon. I married and moved to the Valley. I live in the Willamette Valley, in the foothills of the Cascades. And when I married my husband, he had started a little plot of Christmas trees as an FFA project in high school. And the year we got married was the first year he harvested, and we went on our honeymoon with the money that he made from selling those trees. And over the next 4 years, I think it was, his dad watched him sell his trees from this little patch. And so his dad tore down one of the barns, sold all the cows, and they planted a little over 5 acres with 13,000 trees and started a little U-cut farm. And
wow.
yeah, so, 44 years later, we are still in the Christmas tree business, and we have our own property now. And instead of 5 acres, we have about 65 acres. And we have a lot of trees that we sell commercially, and we have a U-cut, and that's really where our heart is. And it's where my husband's heart has always been, is that's what makes growing trees so worthwhile, is when people come to get their tree, the interaction, meeting families. And we have friends who began coming to the tree farm probably around 35 or 40 years ago, and now their grandkids are coming. I mean, they're not adults yet, but still, it's 3 generations of people that we have known because they started coming to our tree farm. And it's just amazing, the number of people that you meet and the awesome conversations that you have, and just getting to know people. And my husband loves having education classes, like have a class from forestry at the school, or any number of classes. He's had kindergarten classes out just to show them what it's like to be on a tree farm and to what it takes year round to grow a tree. So Christmas is a large part of our life, and we are extremely busy November and December of every year.
I would imagine I just feel fortunate that I grew up here in the Willamette Valley myself, amidst all the tree farms, because I know so many people in today's world don't know where their food comes from, let alone where their trees come from. But starting in late summer, early fall, I start seeing those trucks loaded up with lots of Christmas trees, all bundled up and packed and going off all over the world. It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
I have a dog.
amazing. Oh, absolutely. Part of farm living.
Yes,
And just watching those trees go out, and uh, to me, it's amazing that I don't know how many trees get shipped out of the valley here, but there's a
a
lot,
lot.
I'm sure.
Hmm.
But the U cut, and I grew up with that same type thing where we would go as a family, go to the U-cut tree farm, and they'd have all those bow saws there, and my dad would grab the saw, and we'd go out and look at the trees and look at the trees, and pretty soon we'd find just the right one, and it was always too tall.
Oh, they grow on the way home. That's what I tell people. No, you really got the right size. It just grew on your way home. But yes, they do look a little different out in the open than when you get them in the house.
Yeah, it's a little hard to compare. So we always have to cut a little bit off, and then actually stuff it inside the house. But Um, so with these trees, so I mean, your whole married life has been around these trees
Yes.
and all the different families that have come. This is pretty amazing to me
Yeah.
that you have this is something that just brings the two of you together. What about the rest of your family?
Yes, our kids have spent their entire lives, Christmas around the Christmas trees. Of course, my daughter went off and lived in Arizona for a while and Montana for a while, but she was gone about 7 years and came back. My son's always lived around here. It's always been a family project
Mm,
and working together. But now it's the grandkids that
mhm,
are. We have two grandkids that are 7 and 8, and they are really into helping at the tree farm and they really want to be up there and working. And our third grandchild is 4 months old, so he's got a little bit of time to wait. But we're now working on, another generation. John started it, but he worked with his dad, then he worked with his kids, and now his grandkids are coming up. So it's 4 generations.
mm. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I was just thinking when I was in the Air Force, and I was over in Korea, and I remember my mother went out and cut a tree and put it in a box and shipped it to me, probably against all international postage, postal regulations. Packed up some ornaments. There's just something very special about having that live tree in your house.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's just that's the best part of the year. We tried shipping commercially and we had the normal harvesting with helicopters and had the crews in there with shaking and baling and loading
Hmm.
on semis. And that is stressful. And that
Mm,
is very stressful because we might get a notice. You've got 2 days to get out 14,000 trees of this size. And it's very stressful. But it is so rewarding to have the U-cut and to
hmm.
have people come. We also have had for about 12 years, we've had a lot in Albany where we haul trees down to and sell. We're not having it this year because of the shortage, but that's also, you're meeting people. It's one on one. It's hearing family stories, and
Hmm.
I've had people bring pictures back the next year saying, "This is the tree we got last year and how we decorated it." And there's just a lot of connection there,
Hmm.
and I really enjoy the that part of it, the socializing part of it, and seeing people and seeing kids just running through the trees and looking at them.
Yeah, just a lot of memories, and I just think about too with my kids when we would take them down and same thing. Search for the tree and find the right one, and then cut it and drag it home. It was just that bonding time, and this is
Yeah.
an important part of the family, is to
Yeah.
find things that you can do together that create those memories.
Yes, that's true. And that's what makes it so special to be a part of those memories for people.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So,
So, when did you get the idea to write a book? And is this your first book?
no, this is not my first book. I actually enjoyed writing when I was in high school.
Mm,
I was going to go into the Air Force and photojournalism, and I couldn't pass a physical. So it was years before I got back into writing. But I, in 2009, I wrote a book about the Lebanon Soup Kitchen and about the people who come there and how their lives are affected. And then a year ago, I published a devotional that's all based on my life. And then last January, I published, it's called Liking Myself, Loving My Life 21 Days to Enjoying Right Now. And it's just steps on how to become your best friend, because the most
mm,
important relationship in your life is with yourself. If you don't
mhm.
have a good relationship with yourself, it's really hard to have a good relationship with others. And so my whole idea was to build on that. And then I have a journal that goes with that book. So this is actually my fifth book,
Wow. Yeah.
and it's my first children's book.
Mhm.
I never thought about writing children's book, but I went to Ireland in July with an international writers group, and I was suggested there. It was suggested that I write a children's book. She goes, "You're on," because they were fascinated in Ireland. Some of the people from other countries were fascinated by having a Christmas tree farm, and they said, "You should
Mhm.
write a children's book about the Christmas tree farm." So I did.
You know, I can imagine, because I just don't, as I've traveled around, I don't see those acres and acres and rolling hills of Christmas trees anywhere but here. So I don't know
Yeah.
where else they come from, but um, I can imagine that it would be kind of exotic, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, when you're looking out from the outside, you grow up around it. It's just, this is what it is, right? It's just, oh, there's another tree farm. But I would imagine that it is just a little bit more intriguing, say from Ireland, and looking across into
Mhm.
that, and people attaching their own Christmas memories to what it might mean.
Yeah. I did see one Christmas tree farm in Ireland, or at least I saw the sign, but we didn't actually drive down or over to where it was. It was down another road, and we didn't
Mhm.
make it by there. But I go, oh, they have Christmas tree farms over here, but they're farming in timber industries a little different than ours, and
Mhm.
but it was still exciting for me to see that in Ireland. But
Yeah. Well, every time we compare timelines, right? So here on the West Coast of the United States, when we see a building that was built in the 1800s, 1850, 1860 or something, that's an old building. That's been around for a long time. But of course, we go to the East Coast, and then it's all 1700, 1500, whatever, a long time ago.
yeah, the
But you go over to uh, to Europe,
oh
and I
yeah,
remember a friend of mine was teaching at the university here, and he went over to work with a farmer and in England, and they were looking at a field, and he said, "Yeah, we don't quite have the crop rotation on this one because we've only been farming this field since 1050."
yeah, yes, yeah.
So only 1,000 years. So they'll get it right.
Yeah, it's quite different in Europe. We saw that a lot in Ireland, the ruins and the things there that are
Hmm.
much older than our country.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're over there with this writers group. Tell me, how did you get involved with this writers group? Obviously, you already had 4 books out, and
Well, it was because of the writers group that I wrote the third one, the 21 Days to
mm,
Enjoying Right Now. And I've been a part of this international, it's just Christian women is in this group. And there's, I don't know how many, but a lot of people in it. And I've done short classes with, taken classes from the leader with people from different countries. And so I've been in this international Christian women's group for several years. And
mhm,
this is kind of a break off of the writers that, or people that want to establish an internet business and encouraging to do writing. I've always, that's been my focus, is writing and workshops. I do workshops to help people get to know themselves better and to really like themselves, to enjoy life.
mhm, yeah.
And that's what my whole purpose was going over there. But it's really fun. And I do have another children's book outlined to start working on in January. But
Oh,
I'm not
nice.
doing a lot of writing during Christmas tree season. So,
Yeah, I was thinking you probably don't have a lot of extra time. Just like every farmer that I know around
yeah,
harvest time, it's all hands on deck.
that's true. That's true.
And
So,
so, so you go over there with this group, which is great. You're able to travel. You said this past July,
yes,
or yeah.
Ireland was not opened up when we went over,
Hmm.
but we were picked up by a bus at the airport and taken across country. It was a 3-hour drive out of Dublin to a castle where we were quarantined for a week because Ireland wasn't open up and we weren't
Hmm.
supposed to leave the castle grounds. And, you know, and then we get over there and the weather is extremely unusual. It did not rain for the 2 weeks I was there. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it rained really hard the last hour as I was leaving, getting back into Dublin. But
Just to send you off.
yeah, but there was a couple times it missed it a little, or it rained some and stop, and
Mhm.
but they were calling it a heat wave while we were there because their normal 65 degrees was
Hmm.
80, 85 degrees.
Wow.
And so they were roasting and it was a drought to them. And so it was an amazing time. We stayed at this castle. That was from the 1700s. It was
Hmm.
when it was built, and it has been lived in constantly since it was built.
Wow.
And it was amazing to be there and to study with professionals. I just thought,
Hmm.
how could I go and be with this type of person? But this is what I write about. That's one of my, your poverty mindset. I was thinking I wasn't as good as them. And I
Hmm.
get over there and I have an amazing time of we had classes we took for business, and then we had hours we could spend in the gardens just working on our subjects and stuff like that. And it was an absolutely amazing time. And I really feel like yeah, it was kind of a turning point for me because
Mm.
I do have one of my strongest downfalls, I think, is the poverty mindset. And I have to deal with that all the time. But that's the type of things I write about is, that kind of stuff. So it was really life changing for me. And I made some really, really good friends over there
Hmm.
that I just really admire.
Yeah, I've had a chance to go over to Ireland once and spend a week there. I really enjoyed it. Look forward to the opportunity to go back again. And so
Oh,
I
yeah.
was excited when you said you were there recently, because I do have a
Yeah.
lot of friends, people I do work with, and
Mhm.
want to go back over there. You talk about the weather, and they do call it the Emerald Isle, and so
Mhm.
it's something is going to keep it green, and
Yes.
it is
And the
that
people are
moisture.
so friendly. Everywhere we went, we were just visiting with the locals. I mean,
Hmm.
just because after we were quarantined in the castle, when we were there, then Ireland opened up for foreign travel. And so
Hmm.
after we were done with our lessons at the castle and stuff, I did travel for 6 days. So I got out, met a lot of locals that it was really, really fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, it's The interesting thing that I saw about Dublin too was the lack of skyscrapers for a big city.
Oh,
They were the build. There's just not. There's no
I never
enormous
thought of
buildings.
that, but yeah, they're taller than what we have in Lebanon. So I didn't even think about skyscrapers because I avoid going to big
Hmm.
cities a lot. So
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that, but I think of it now. Your biggest, a lot of the biggest places were the cathedrals.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah. And so I think they've been very intentional about that. And it makes it, even though it is a big city, even though it is the capital, it it feels much more homey. And
Mhm.
I really enjoyed being there.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and so then, yeah, this is the kind of thing I think is really helpful. And one of the things that I like about doing these interviews, Nancy, is talking about this journey and encouraging other people, because I think so many people have stories within them, whether
Hmm.
they're fiction or nonfiction, stories about their family, their own memoirs. And I always want to encourage people because, as I often say, this is the best time ever to be alive, because if you want to write a book, you can write a book and you can publish it right here on Amazon, right
Hmm.
on Kindle. Doesn't cost anything to do that. And to be able to capture that story. But a lot of people say, how, what should I write about? Or how do I get started? And I think your example here of working with this group is part of what obviously it inspired you to write the children's book.
Hmm.
Oh, and so we have someone that just said, "What's the name of the International Christians Writers Group?"
Well, I was um, Donna Parteau International is what it is. Donna Parteau is an author that she's written over 30 books, and she has an international group. It's Donna Parteau,
Is
Parteau,
that PARTOW?
Partow, yeah,
Uh-huh.
international. And that's, I was following her for about 4 years. And so it's in her group is where I've met a lot of these women
Okay.
from different
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, I think this is a great thing. If you can get together with other writers and just kind of talk the craft,
Oh, yeah.
um, that's going to inspire you instead of intimidate you, I would hope.
That's true, and I love brainstorming. When somebody else has an idea and they say, "I'm stuck on this," and to get a group together and just start throwing out ideas, whether they're
Mm,
absurd or not. I mean, that's what makes it fun, is sometimes you
mhm,
get a little crazy. But to throw out ideas and not be so strict about it, about, well, you should have, this happen or whatever. It's just like, well, gosh, what if you had him do this? Or anyway, the brainstorming times were just really
mhm.
fun to get together with other writers and other creative people and just say, well, what if we did this? Because that's really fun.
Yeah, and so you can help seed each other and
Yeah.
kind of, and obviously it worked, because then when you came back, somewhere along the line you decided to write this book.
Hmm. My husband got very excited about it when I told him. I said, well, Donna suggested that I write a children's book about the tree farm. And he started coming up with ideas and going, I think we should mention this. And it was really important to him that we talk about all the generations and
Hmm.
how we, share family wise with our own family through the generations, but how we share with other families. And as they come out and we see kids year after year that grow. And I used to have a dog that at the tree lot, I had people who would stop in. They didn't need a tree or want a tree. Maybe they already had it, but they would stop in just to see my dog and to pet her. And they'd come by every year and ask how she was doing. But unfortunately, she did pass away this summer.
Mm.
And but you get to kind of know some people, and when they come back, you're going, okay, how big a tree you getting this year? It's kind of fun to see them and stuff. So,
Hmm.
but my husband was very much a part of putting the book together and some of his ideas of what he wanted to see in it. And the little boy in the book is the little boy in our church who absolutely loves to go out to the farm and ride around on the gator with my husband. But the little boy in the book I put from the city and stuff. But so it's basically true. I just, had a little bit of leeway in places, but it's all true as far as what we do with the trees, how we take care of them, and how we love seeing people who come. But yet the sign as you leave the tree farm, you get your tree and you're leaving, it says, "Remember the reason for the season."
Ah, yes. Uh-huh.
And so we do try to not just make it about commercial type things, but we do try to keep Jesus in the season, and that's
Mhm.
what the book is about. It He tells Atlas how he can look at the tree and be reminded of stories from the Bible.
Mhm. Yeah, and so, um, I just thought this was a great way to kind of bring Christmas around because, like I said, here it is November. Some people say, "Oh, we shouldn't be talking about Christmas because, it's not even Thanksgiving." But Christmas isn't just Christmas without Jesus, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, he's the reason. So
And so talking about that, any time of the year is fine.
yeah, and we can be a big part of Christmas and still share God's message. I mean, that's what
Mhm.
Christmas is about. And we don't go preach to anybody out there, but I don't know. I just think that our employees are all awesome. They treat people really, take care of everything they need, and I just think that that kind of stuff, taking care of, caring about people, helping them if they get out there and we had a gal one time. She was by herself, and while she was out looking for a tree, her dog locked her keys in the car. So one of our employees took her all the way home to get her extra set of keys and brought her back to get her car.
No,
So it
that's
just
the most
happened.
unusual one. Of course, dogs uh, often get blamed for homework, but I have never heard someone blame their dog for getting locked out of the car.
I've seen that, and that happened to my husband the other day. But he's learned to take the keys out because the dog will, stand up in the window and then he'll step down and lock the doors, and you can't leave him in, can't leave her in the pickup without rolling the windows down or taking the keys with you.
Well, I have to say that's the way I grew up. Is the keys were always in the car because what if
Yeah,
someone needs it and needs to
yeah,
move
that's
it?
true.
And certainly true on the farm too, right?
Yes, yeah.
So, so the so these stories and how it, or the story and how it relates to the Bible and the Christmas story. Um, are you a Sunday school teacher? Tell me about kind of your background there. And I saw that school teachers love your book, so tell me about this.
Yes, I wanted school teachers who deal with little kids all the time to say, "Would this be a book that kids would like?" And
Mm,
yeah, I got 100% yes on from the teachers. But I am not a teacher. I've always said I am not a teacher. However, God can, take anything and make something out of it. So I actually, where I came from in teaching is that I didn't want to see people go through what I went through. And so when I see people hurting, I want to reach out. And that's why
mm,
I wrote the other books that I've written, and that's why I do my workshop is I want to help people to not hurt the way I did. And that is what, you ask, what do people write books about? Well, you write about what you're passionate about.
hmm
And that's what I'm passionate about. And I do have a degree in forestry, just like my husband does. And I love the tree farm. I love the Christmas tree time to, with people. But yeah, you write about what you know and
hmm
what you're passionate about. and there's just a lot of things out there to do that with. And so I do have a few more books. I have two more books outlined. One's a children's book and one's not. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna just keep going on writing and seeing what happens, and teaching the workshops, because I
Yeah.
like to see that light come on when you give some comment, some truth, and the light comes on in somebody going, "Ah, this wasn't my fault. I don't have to live this way," or something like
Mhm.
that. So
Mhm. Sure.
I that's what keeps me going as a teacher, is just, giving off what is passionate about what I
Mm.
believe in.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to remind everybody that we are live on Amazon with Nancey West, and we're talking about her book and a lot of other things about the farm and about other books coming up. And the book I've highlighted her book in the carousel. You can click on it, you can take a little peek inside. Christmas time is coming, holiday times are coming, and if you have kids, if you know of someone who has kids or grandkids, or if at one time you yourself were a kid, I'd add the book to the cart. Just go ahead. In fact, do it right now. Just click on it, add it to cart. You'll be so happy. You can actually, the great thing about Amazon, you can add to cart, and you can have it sent directly to somebody. So if you have somebody that's out of the area, then you're wondering what should you get them for a gift this holiday season. I would definitely recommend adding Nancey's book there, and this is the time to do it. Get it now, so they can read the story to their children before Christmas time or during the Christmas season. So, Nancey,
Yes.
I'm glad that we've got you here on the program. And is one of the things with children's books, especially, it comes down to the illustrations, and it's hard to get what's inside your brain and the story and the right illustrator. Tell us
Mhm.
about the process there.
Well, the process, I use um, an app called Fiverr, Fiverr, and you just go on Fiverr and you put on there what you want, and then it's an it's an international, it's a world organization,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so people from around the world that do what you're looking for can send you remarks, and you can look through their what they've done, their portfolio and things like that, and you can narrow it down. And it's hard because there are so many
Mm.
good illustrators out there that it was really hard. And I just picked this one because I don't know really why. I narrowed it down, and then I picked this guy, and he is in India, and I sent him the book with what was written on each page, and then I would write at the bottom what my vision was of what might that look like, and it might only be one or two sentences.
Mm.
And then he came back, and when he came back with the pictures, it actually worked really well, because there was only a few times that I said, no, this isn't going to work. The biggest trouble I had was trying to explain to him about a nursery, because at one point John talks about a nursery where the seedlings come from.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
Atlas says, well, Solomon came from a nursery, and that's his little brother. And I wanted a picture of a nursery like you used to be able to go in the maternity ward and look through the window and see all the babies. And you used to be able to do that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted. But I had a hard time convincing him. And it took about 4 times of going through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then what he came back with, he's got a tree in each window up here, and then he's
Ah,
got the seedlings in the bassinets there. And so
okay.
I was really pleased
I
with the way
like
it
that.
came out.
Mm-hmm.
But it did take a lot explaining that to him, that what I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to say. And but there was other places that, I mean, there's some places in there that, they don't exactly look like my husband and Atlas. And, my dog didn't have a tail, but this one, it looks better with a tail. So, the little details are
Mhm.
just what they are. And the main
Yeah.
story is what is the heart of it. So,
I think that's a fascinating way to go. I have friends that do voiceover work and
mhm,
writing, book outlining on
mhm,
Fiverr, and it's a great source. They are able to work with people from around the world, across the country, and a lot of different projects. And but yours is the first time that I've had someone use it for a full children's book, which I just think is exciting.
yeah. Yeah, I was very pleased with him in the end because
Hmm.
and then if you buy the book, there's a thank you page in here. It says thank you for buying and reading about Atlas and Mr. John, and you can go to a site here and that's listed in the book, and you can download a color book for the children,
Oh,
for the kids.
nice.
So you get a thank you gift
Hmm.
for buying the book, is you can download a color book,
Oh,
and
well,
you
that's
can.
wonderful. Yeah.
So
That's a great idea, and it's just a way to stay connected to your audience in a way that's very helpful for them.
yeah. So,
So, yeah.
and can I make one comment about,
Oh, please.
go on Amazon, order the book, and then be sure to post a review,
Yes,
because you need to.
always.
I guess Amazon prefers if you buy it there, so they can verify that you bought it, and
Mhm.
then you can post a review, and that way other people will know what to expect, know that it's available and that it's a good book for kids. And
Yeah, that's a great point. I do encourage everybody, when you buy the book, go back and give it a rating, uh, 5-star rating, and talk about how wonderful it is for children. It's a way that you can give back, a way that we can support our author community and encourage them to get more books and also get these books into the hands of other folks. So it's really important. It's amazing the strength of reviews and
yes.
how much sway they have on people's
Hmm.
willingness to buy something. So that's a
Yeah.
great idea, Nancy. So as we're kind of moving on here, we'll talk about some of these other ideas that you have for books coming up. So this was a very special book, Christmas time, talking about this life that you have had for your entire married life, being on the Christmas tree farm and kind of helping Atlas determine that having a Christmas tree in his house is okay. It's not a bad. It's not gonna detract from the story of Jesus. In fact, it'll help enhance that. What do you have coming up? What types of stories are you thinking about?
Well, I attempted to write a book with a friend of mine's mother that was called "Off My Rocker," and I've just been so enamored with her. I mean, she's over 80 years old, and she travels to back countries. I mean, places that tourists don't go.
Mm,
And she just got back on Wednesday from somewhere in Africa. But anyway,
Botswana, maybe.
something like that. Yeah, in
Hmm.
Africa. And I just can't wait to hear about her trip. So
Hmm.
I've been read her diaries and some of the things that's happened to her in different places. And I decided to turn that into a children's book instead of an adult book,
Hmm.
and call it Grandma's Off Her Rocker, and just have an empty rocker on a porch, because here she is. I think she's 85 now,
Hmm.
and she is still traveling. She's been to India 3 times, and
Hmm.
places where the children had never seen a white person before. And she's has all these adventures, and she's up in age where you kind of retire and you sit on your porch
Hmm.
in your rocker and just enjoy life. But that's not what she's doing. She's off her rocker. She's all over the
Of a
world.
rocker, and I would say enjoying life more
Oh
than if she
yes.
was in that
I
traditional.
I just keep trying to get her to take me with her.
There is so much to see out there and so many people to meet. I just think it's a wonderful time. And now that the borders are opening up, that things are easing a little bit, that people can travel around a little bit more. I certainly encourage people to go out, and
Yeah.
especially if you are at all thinking about writing a book. I can't think of something better than travel to help
Oh,
fuel the inspiration.
I was going to relate the travel book to Bible stories too, and the different countries and different things that she saw,
Mhm.
kind of on the same way I did in the Christmas tree book, but to do it with
Now, would
her.
you carry your characters through? I know that some authors,
No, I
kind of bring
probably
those through.
won't. I
Okay.
probably won't because um, I would want the main character, Grandma, to be Carrie, and I would no, I'd probably change.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fun. This is one of the beautiful things about writing your own books is that you get to create your own world, you get to create your own characters,
Yeah,
uh, and although based on a lot on your experience and where you've been and what you've seen, uh, you get to create it all, and that's
yeah.
got to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it is. It is. But then it's a lot of fun, but then you have to put it out in front of people and then you
Uh,
become vulnerable. So writing it, if I wrote my memoir, but that's only for me. It's not being published.
okay.
And it did me a lot of good to write that. And I took a lot of stories from that into my devotional. But there, you got to think about it when you're going to put all your creativity, your heart, your soul, everything into writing a book and then putting it out in front of people who are going to critique it as though it didn't mean the world to you.
Mm,
You might,
right.
you have to be a little bit, you got to step back and really look at it. But
Yeah.
you can be vulnerable that way.
Well, that's one of the things, when I talk to the authors, it's always a team of people that
Yes.
come together and proofread it, and you need to have an editorial person or team, and you need to have some thicker skin and realize they're just wanting to make it better for the reader.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's for somebody that a long time ago, my mom used to always say that if you look at me cross-eyed, I'd cry. I was such a sensitive kid, but I also, you know, I always say in my workshops, I grew up believing I was worthless, but now I
Mm,
know I'm priceless. And
wonderful.
so now, people criticize my work, and sometimes, everybody's gonna not everybody's gonna absolutely love it, but it doesn't affect me because it's not me so much as it's the work God's given me. And
Hmm.
so I can withdraw myself some going, yeah, some people aren't going to like it. They're not going to like that's just, it's okay because what I'm writing for is that person who's going to identify with me. And if I can help them to enjoy life and
Mm.
like who they are, then I'll take the rest of the criticism.
Yeah, and I think is that you have that opportunity with children's books as well to help
Mhm,
start young, because I know a lot of children have also these issues with their self-worth,
mhm.
um, that I know maybe social media gets blamed for a lot of stuff, but this is just something that we as humans have dealt with for a long time. And so I like that you have this heart.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so, as you're thinking about this and writing, so you've written different styles, different types of books. Short stories to me seem to be challenging because you have to be very concise and very
Mhm.
precise, right, with what you write. And I'm wondering, is it harder to write a children's book that's just a few sentences per page and not very many of those pages
Yeah.
compared to a longer form book?
You do have to be concise, like you said. You do have to write very tight. You can't have filler words. You can't, there's a couple of pages where I think there's just a lot of words on the page, and I tried to figure out ways to cut it down. But yeah, when I first wrote this out, I probably had to cut it in half to actually get
Oh,
it in the book.
wow. Hmm.
So it takes a lot. And there was a couple of topics that I didn't even talk about, like the wreaths. I make wreaths, and we sell those at the tree farm. And
Hmm.
I have a friend who helps me, and we sell some of them with plain, just cedar and juniper and cones, and
Mm-hmm.
then we have some that we put a lot of bling on. And I didn't get into anything like that in the book. I just talked about the trees, and I
Hmm.
just went across the surface. I mean, I wasn't able to get into any explanation about anything,
Hmm.
just across the surface to introduce it, because you just have to cut the words down and mention what's you got to figure out what's important and how to say it as tight as you can.
Yeah. So I'll just remind everybody again, Nancey West here is author of The Blessings of the Christmas Tree Farm. We have it highlighted in the carousel. The perfect holiday gift. Add to cart, buy a bunch of copies and send them to different people that you know. Be the hero this Christmas season. And, you know, Christmas time, there's a lot of stories that we hear over and over again. There's a lot of songs that we hear over and over again. There's only like 6 Christmas songs, and they've been done a bunch of different times. But um, it's refreshing to have a fresh story to share at this time of the year.
Yeah. So, well, I appreciate you having me on and
Yeah.
letting me tell my story, and not just my Christmas tree story, but with my other books
Hmm.
and things that I'm just passionate about.
Well, Nancey, we'll have you back when the new books come out.
Okay.
And because it's always fun just to see what else has been going on. But with that, I just want to give you the chance to kind of let people know how they can get a hold of you, to look at your other books, to maybe bring you in as a speaker, either live or virtually. How can people get a hold of you?
Well, the best way is through my website, which is nancywest.com. And the trick with that is you got to get the E in my name. It's Nancey. So it's
Hmm.
nancywest.com. And that's all of my books are listed there. My workshop is listed there, so you could get a hold of me. I have very simple 1-day workshops. I have week-long retreats that we could put on, and it just all varies to the audience, the type who's going to be there, because I developed the workshop thinking about people like me, very broken,
Hmm.
hurt people, that from when I was years ago. And yet I just did one in Lebanon, and I was amazed at the professional people that found nuggets in my workshop to really encourage them. And
Oh, that's
so
great.
you could go on my website and you can get a hold of me on there. It's just info@nancywest.com. And my books are on Amazon. I have an Amazon author page. They're there. And if you go in and you buy the Christmas book and you put reviews, then the Christmas book will be easier to find, because like right now, I just put it on, and you have to go in like 20 pages to find it, because there's just so many Christmas books and children's books, and
Mhm.
it just takes a while to find it. So I'm trying to get it up on Amazon. I did have my one book, Liking Myself, Loving My Life, went to number 1 in 8 categories on Amazon.
Wow,
And
congratulations. Yeah.
it stayed in a couple of those for 5 weeks. So
Mhm.
I
That's
really,
amazing.
really was amazed at that book. But I would like to get blessings up there with
Mhm.
that, and
Yeah.
try to get it up there where people can see it and find it.
Well, fabulous. All right. Well, hang out in the green room for just a moment, and
Okay.
we'll wind this one down. Hey, I just want to thank Nancey for being on Amazon Live here today as we talk about her book, Christmas, The Blessings of the Christmas Tree Farm. And so now we know best selling author, Nancey West. Buy the book, write a review, send copies to friends. Uh, and I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and enjoying Nancey's interview. Everyone, I just wish you holiday blessings. We'll sign off for now.